For this episode we are talking about staying in hostels while traveling. That's why today's location is the YHA Hostel in Cambridge. This is a chain of hostels that stands for Youth Hostels Association. They are all over England and Wales, and they just facilitate us to use this background for this video, so we're really grateful for that. And for today's episode I have Valentina Murru. She's here with me today because she is a traveler and she used to stay at hostels when traveling. She's a dear friend of mine. So Valentina, just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your travel story as well. We would like to hear from you.
Well, thank you so much, Sara, for having me here today. I'm very excited about doing this. And yeah, it's true that this kind of experience really speaks to me. I had the chance to travel a lot. And I guess I started more or less when I was 18-year-old. And I think since then I've never stopped. So I kept traveling around, and it feels weird when I cannot. And so I'm always planning ahead. So yeah, just going back to the main topic of hostels, that has been one of the first way that I chose to travel. At the beginning you go for hostels because you think it's cheap and it's the most efficient way to travel, mostly when you are on a low budget, but actually with the time you realize there's many more perks to that, and it's actually a great way to travel.
That is great. Have you seen this hostel anywhere when you travel?
Yeah, that's actually the first thing I realized when we arrived here in this location. There is a nice map back there, and I realized that recently I've been to Wales, and there's beautiful hiking routes on the cliffs, and this chain of hostels actually has many locations all over these hiking routes, and so it's great for like travelers, like backpackers. They're just going around this beautiful coast of Wales. They can easily stop and find a place where to rest during the route. So I actually would love to try that one day.
Yeah, me too. Actually, the vibe of this one in Cambridge is very nice. So I bet all the other ones would be really nice to stay at too as well. What is your first memory of staying in a hostel? Like a happy memory, let's say,
okay.
Nice moment.
Well, I guess at the beginning I was a bit unsure on how hostels work and how to, get used to, the whole experience, right? You will end up like sleeping in dorms, sharing room with other people, and at the beginning I was a bit, afraid, like, not sure.
Because it wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Like you feel like it's uncomfortable, you're sleeping like with strangers, how do you protect your own things, how you're sure nothing's gonna happen, etc. But actually, like my first experience in a hostels turned out to be great, because it's a great occasion to meet people, talk with them, exchange life experiences.
Especially for you, another extrovert
yeah, exactly. No, it's good. Like if you're looking for people to engage, that's the place where you want to go. So if you're traveling alone, I'd say that's the best way to go around, because somebody that is traveling alone doesn't necessarily mean that wants to be alone during the trip, right? So
that is true.
Yeah. What about you, Sarah? So do you have good experiences?
Yes, actually that's one of my favorite things to stay in hostels is to engage with other people. I never felt uncomfortable before I used one, because I think this is only because I used to play basketball for long time before I start traveling, and that's an experience of always staying with your team, sleeping together. I know it's people that we know, but the aspect of being comfortable on a changing room, I think it says a lot when for people who travel to hostels, for example. But it's a completely different experience, because I remember there was once where there were only mixed dorms available. And I was like, oh, okay, let's go for it. Let's try. It's an experience. And it ended up being really nice, because everyone is really respectful, because everyone is at the same level, so everyone has experienced the same thing. So it is as uncomfortable for a woman as it is for a man to be in that experience. So I think, but my best memory to stay in a hostel would definitely be getting to know other travelers and experiencing like the rest of my trips with them, or becoming friends with them. That's definitely what I think Do you have, let's just jump straight off to a bad experience.
Okay.
Do you remember anything that was really bad?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, right, we can't expect always everything goes perfect, right? So I would say my only bad experience was once I arrived in this hostel. It was a bit late at night, and there were some people that didn't look like trustworthy, you know. So I got a bit afraid. Not afraid I think is a big word, right? I just wasn't feeling as comfortable as I would have in normal situation, right? But I have to say that nothing happened. I spoke with the people at the reception. They reassured me that everything was all right. They had security cameras, so everything was gonna be fine in order, and that's what happened, right? So these situations can happen anytime, you know. So, but that was probably that.
Maybe especially as a woman,
I guess, right? Traveling alone, like it was late at night. Maybe it was a lot of things that
factors that could lead to that.
Exactly, like to me not feeling like particularly safe on that night. But I guess it was a lot on me rather than the actual situation. Right?
Yeah.
So, and you, Sara, do you have some like?
Maybe my worst experience in a hostel goes back to when I traveled to some friends of mine. We went to Inverness actually. Yes. We stayed in a hostel there, and we traveled with big backpacks, right? And the lockers were so small that they didn't fit inside. So I remember the bed was very, very tiny. I'm quite tall, so I had to like duck down on the bed. Wow. And I actually had to share the bed with my backpack, so it was kind of sleeping with the pillow and the backpack next to it. So that was a bit uncomfortable because I just didn't rest. I was worried that something would happen to my belongings. Okay. I think that's probably the worst thing I feared about when I'm in a hostel. But right now, I always make sure to check for the locker sizes when I book. And also, I carry a very nice thing that I've just discovered, which is a padlock, that the lock itself is a flexible iron thing. So it fits on all types of lockers, because sometimes either your padlock is too large to fit inside the hole or something like that. So after that bad experience, I'm prepared.
That's the solution.
I'm prepared. Yes,
that's good. It makes sense. Looking for the good location, like read the reviews before
other travelers' feedback is on the place.
Exactly, right? So definitely that's one of the things that
for me, one of the things to look out as well is having a 24 hours reception desk. Or a self-check-in option available.
I would say one of the things that, at least at the beginning, I would look for, it was maybe booking dorms with a smaller number of beds. Because that would make me feel more comfortable, like knowing that maybe there were 3 other people in the room or like 5 more people in the room. So that was one of the things that I still look, I'm still careful, like I'd rather go, so I don't mind spending that extra bit of money, but have a bit more comfort in the sense that you're sleeping in a probably more quieter environment.
Right. Valentina, you have now been in a situation where you haven't been in hostels recently. Why was that a change for you?
So I guess it does come a time, right, when you feel like maybe my hostels time are over and I want to have a proper hotel with my own room, like proper room, a treat, right? And suite bathroom, like feeling okay, having your like breakfast included in the price, etc. So yeah, I had that shift, right? However, and I have been traveling with a friend of mine, etc., and it was good. But I realized that I was kind of missing the experience as well of the hostels, and I had a recent travel experience, which was a hiking route that actually led me to...
let them know which route was
it was the Camino de Santiago, so it's St. James Way.
Through Portugal?
Through Portugal and then Spain, yes. I took the Portuguese route. So I started from Porto, and then I made my way up till the north of Spain, and it's beautiful. The route is beautiful in itself, but it also involves staying in hostels.
Right.
And that's changed again my perspective about hostels, because before I was like, I moved away from hostels looking for being comfortable, but now I'm going back to the idea of hostels
for the experience.
Exactly, for the experience, for socializing, for meeting people, for being together, and that experience has been like great.
You said that there is a point where hostels are over. So wait a second, do you think hostels are only for young people?
No, actually I have to say no, that I had probably that my answer could have been different some time ago, but I have to say no, they're not only for young people. They are for people that actually maybe are traveling alone, or they're traveling like in a group of friends, but they're open, they're extrovert, they want to meet people. Or even if you are like an alone traveler, as in like, I want to stay on my own, I want to have my relaxing time, my reflection time, but you still like to have people around you, still would like to have options to socialize, for example. I think that's a great place where to get that.
But also, hostels sometimes do have available suite rooms. So that would be just either for you or for a couple, or it's just a space for you to sleep, but you can also, with no one else, so it's not a dorm room, but you can also have the experience of meeting other people on the common areas of the hostel. Let me just go back to this that we were talking about. I was so surprised when I was in Edinburgh, and I was coming with my friends back to the hostel because we've been exploring all day long, and it was about like, let's say 9, and we arrived and we were knackered, so we just wanted to sleep. And as soon as we went inside the room, there was a dorm room, and there were 2 beds occupied. There was someone resting there, like someone on each bed, and we were like, okay, let's be quiet because there's someone sleeping, right? As soon as we went to our own beds, those people just get up, and it was like a couple that had around 80 years old. I was surprised, not only because they were 80 years old, but because they were getting ready to go clubbing.
It's crazy.
I was just like,
that's amazing.
This is what I should have been doing, and they should be coming back to rest, and no.
But this is what it is,
the
right?
The age is just a number.
It's literally a number. I had a similar experience. I was sharing a room in a dorm. There was this lovely lady. She was probably in her like 60s, 70s. I would probably 70s. And again, it was during the Camino, during the walk.
Right.
And she has been doing that already for a couple of times. And it was impressive. She was super comfortable in the hostels. She approached me immediately, and like we were talking, and I was like, this is for everybody.
Fantastic.
It doesn't really matter.
So they usually have a kitchen where you can cook. Do you think this is a perk? Is it good?
I would say I've always liked the idea of having a kitchen. Maybe I haven't used it as much, but I love the fact that it's there. Okay?
Maybe if you travel for longer, probably you would get to use it more.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking actually. When I was I was maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. I went to New York the first time, and I did go to a hostel. And it was very, very convenient, the fact there was a kitchen there, because I was really on a low budget. New York is an expensive city. So actually that allowed me to save a lot, because I was having breakfast and dinner always at the hostel. So like when we were getting back from our like day of exploration around the city, we would stop at any supermarket and have something we could cook like fast, And actually this makes me think about something else, about combining food experience and social experience. In a hostel where I stayed in Porto, they also organized these dinners together with other people, so you could sign up for the dinners, and you would all sit at the table with like other travelers like you, and basically we'll combine having like a cheap dinner, like a good price, you wouldn't end up in a touristic trap, and you will talk with fellow travelers, and you would be experiencing like traditional cuisine from the area. So that was, for me, was
ticking like, all the perfect.
It was an amazing combination of the three things, right? So yeah,
that is great. Never heard about that, but I do know that hostels tend to organize activities that you can just book through the hostel, and this is also a very good idea if you're traveling alone, to get along and to just engage with other people, this is a great option to go for.
Some are very like social, as in like they could also have like bar, cafeteria, and other open spaces, right? So, but still, I believe if you still want to be alone and have your own solo time, you will always have that chance,
yes,
right?
That is true.
And of course, there might be downside to that, right? Sometimes, like sharing, like going back to the kitchen situation, it can be always ideal, right? Might get very crowded. Not everybody might end up very as respectful as you would expect them to be. I would say overall, I never had any real problem. So I don't know about
even though it has downsides.
Exactly. Right? I never encountered any bad situation, but I could say someone could think about, okay, well, this could be some
especially
downside,
because
right?
especially because everything at the kitchen you don't bring, you use whatever is there. So they might be not as clean as you want them to be, or not available, for example.
Hostel stuff, they really try very hard though to keep everything in place, and there's always like signs saying how to do things and how to behave. They really try to educate each traveler on how to respect the others. So
that
overall,
is true.
It should be fun.
I wouldn't say a kitchen would be a downside, even though I understand your point. For me, probably a downside to stay in hostels could be related with toilets. Not that I think is bad sharing a toilet with other travelers, but just because not all hostels have a toilet on your floor. I had a really bad experience where I was in Berlin and my toilet was just a floor down mine. And the hostel was kind of built on top of a bar. They used the bar bit as a reception, so it kind of played music, right? But as on bars they have those fire escape stairs. Those were the stairs to the rooms. So can you imagine like showering, especially in Berlin during Christmas time? You've been there, you know. So, you know how cold it is. But it was a good challenge. It was good, right?
It was good. I guess the situation with the bathrooms, like toilet area, shower area, so that it can be one of the most challenging aspects if you're not ready for it. I would say that most of the time, as long as you're organized, you won't have any problems. So at least this is what I do, because when you have to go to toilet to shower, you have kind of bring everything with you, right? At least this is what I do, right? So you organize also your backpack thinking about that. So you need
you also bring your backpack.
Yes, me too. Yeah, exactly, right? So but even if it's a suitcase, like you still need to
and you also have to pile it by like your priorities, whether you're gonna need this first. You have to leave it on top of the pile.
Be organized, exactly. Have maybe a small bag where you can put everything. Don't carry everything around, because you will end up having shampoo, toothpaste,
and it's too much.
Everything. That's not working, right? Not all the bathroom are organized as having like stools where to bring, or table where to leave your things. Sometimes you will just have a hanger, so if you have a bag, you just hang it. That's great.
I would also mention that there are some small gadgets that you can get when you're traveling. One of them that I find really useful, we had this conversation before, but I think you agree with me. Sometimes, your toothbrush, sometimes there is nowhere to put it. And you kind of don't want to put your toothbrush where someone else has touched, right? So even though we can use the old strategy of hanging it on the borders of the sink, sometimes that can go wrong, right?
Exactly.
So there is a little tiny thing that you can get, which is just a sticker or a magnet that you can put on the mirror or on the wall or somewhere where you hang your toothbrush. I've been using this, and I have to tell you, this is a lifesaver.
It's a solution we have all been looking for.
Yes. I don't understand how come this took me so long.
I know. Didn't have any idea about that existing. But it's really good. That's really good. Probably, definitely.
Cool. So, anything else for toilets?
I would say for toilets, nothing comes to mind.
Right. There's just one more thing. Do you know those towels, microfiber towels that you can get that sometimes have a hanger?
That's what I use.
Those are good because sometimes you don't have where to hang stuff, but because they have their own thing, you can just
they have the
put it
kind
somewhere.
of a hook, yeah, and mostly the material, the fabric they're made of. It's
Travel light and very easy to dry.
Exactly, it dries so quickly. Like that's amazing, right? Because you take a shower, give it like 2 hours, and that's fine.
I think one good tip for the room would be to be really respectful of others, because you don't want to like barge in, turn on the lights, talk on the phone where some people might be sleeping. So
I agree.
Be respectful. That's tip number 1.
I agree. That's very important. Of course, you have to remember that there's like other people around you.
I just loved the idea of having a curtain closing my bed. I was just, oh my god, this is such a perk, because literally you can just dress and undress on your room,
exactly,
on your
like in your
bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can just start.
It's great also, not only because it gives you that extra bit of privacy that you might be lacking otherwise, but also great because it gives you light. As we were talking about before, right? You don't want to bother other people. They might decide to go to bed early, but maybe you still want to relax. Maybe you want to read the book or still need light, right? And when you have the curtains, usually each bed will be provided with a small light. So that is great because you won't be bothering anybody and still have a bit of light, which
that is
needed,
true,
right?
That is true. Also, always look out where would you have a plug available.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there are not many, so you want to be the first one to spot them.
True.
Otherwise, they just have a plug on top of your head. That's the most common
time.
Yeah,
solution. Modern hostels, they have been nowadays. We all need to charge something at some point,
especially daily if you have an Apple product.
Yeah.
Sorry, Apple.
No, yeah, it's true. So it's very handy to have your own plug, and most of the hostels are now ready for that kind of need each traveler has.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you find it okay to charge your things on top of your head?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because some people may find it dangerous.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
And for those of you who don't want to like sleep with your phone next to your head, there are some really nice things, which is just like a sock, with a hole that you can just put inside the plug, and then you put your phone and everything charging inside that little bag. So
like a holder, right?
Yeah,
so
like a holder, but it stays
cute.
there, because usually at the beginning I was like charging everything and sleeping next to it.
True.
But it made me feel confused because it's too much technology and
next to you. I get it. One thing more we can mention about rooms is actually not all hostels necessarily provides beddings, so it's a good thing to check that beforehand, because they might charge you extra for that. So in that case, you might decide that you would rather travel with a sleeping bag. Yes.
Yeah.
Which I found I started doing that, and I found that a very, very nice solution. So why not? You know, if you're a backpacker and you're already gonna have your sleeping bag with you, it's fine.
Even though staying in hostels might have some downsides, as we pointed out, they also come with a lot of advantages. Valentina, in your opinion, what would be the best advantages of staying in hostels while traveling?
Okay, so first of all, I think it's important to mention that it's a low budget accommodation. Okay, not always the cheapest, but that's because they still offer quality. So don't think low budget means low quality. That's not what it is actually. But it's a great solution when you are on a budget and you're still looking for a good accommodation actually. Yes. Second thing that's very important for me is obviously the social aspect. The fact you can meet people, you can talk, share experience, and the third thing that I think is very important for me is the overall atmosphere. So I know that like 99% of the time when I choose to travel and stay in a hostel, I'm gonna find a friendly atmosphere. I'm gonna find people that are warm, the people at the reception, they're smiling, they're like,
you feel welcome.
Exactly. Yeah. You feel like you're among friends, and they will be there for you. They will be there for your needs. So I think this is the three things that I really like about hostels.
I totally agree with you completely. Definitely having the experience of staying in a hostel has changed my life in the sense that Even though I enjoy being a solo traveler most of the times, I like it to arrive somewhere where I can just sit down and like play some snooker with some fellow travelers, share some experience, sometimes even brainstorm with the hostel staff about my day, ask for some tips, because most of the times the staff that works in the hostels are locals, so they are the best persons to ask tips while you're traveling.
Yeah, they care. They care. They show that.
If you have never tried this before, maybe give it a go. Just be mindful if you are a very private person or if you are shy, this might not be for you, and that's okay, because not everyone has to have this experience. But in case you wanted to try, just go for it. Be mindful when you read through the things, be organized, and enjoy it, because it's a nice experience. Make the most out of it. Valentina, it was great to have you here today. You were a great asset to this topic. You had a lot to share, and I'm very happy that you be part of this.
Thank you, Sara. It was a great experience to be here, actually.
And actually, we would like to thank to Youth Hostel Association for giving us this perfect moment of recording inside their hostel. And I look forward to stay at one of your places in the future.
Of course.
And if you'd like to leave your feedback below, that would be great as a comment. Me and Valentina would be happy to reply to your questions. If you have anything that you really want to know about experience in staying in hostels, do leave your feedback below. And I see you on the next episode. You're very chill.
Right.
Okay.
Come on, Sara, you're gorgeous. You're amazing.
Yeah, I just want to put my face natural, because it's not natural now.
No? Okay, done.
Okay,
Go.
here we go. Let me start again.
Bring